Chase McCabe live once again. SEC Media Days here at the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Nashville. Hope you're having a fantastic start to your, I think it's Thursday. I'm losing track of time, losing track of days as SEC Media Days rolls on. But our coverage presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Appreciate them for being on board with us. I am here, Nick Frazier, back at the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Nick, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Chase. Doing well. Ready for Josh Heupel.
Did I say Keiser or Frazier?
You said Frazier.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're set. All good. It's still early. I'll give you a little bit of a breakfast pass.
I appreciate that. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head football coach, going to address the media soon, a.k.a. the Lane Train. So we will definitely play that for you because I always enjoy hearing what Lane has to say. They're in Nashville, so you never know what he's going to bring up when he has a live microphone in his hand. So we'll hear from him. Josh Heupel, of course, will address the media today, close out SEC Media Days with Tennessee, and all the hype that's with the Tennessee Volunteers. We'll talk to our old buddy Vince Ferrara at 9:45. Get his thoughts on the Vols in year 3 of Josh Heupel, Joe Milton taking over as the starting quarterback for Hendon Hooker. So he'll join us. Jill Jelnick, Fox 17, is going to be here at 10 o'clock. Her thoughts on the Vols and the Titans and D-Hop before training camp opens up next week. And then who knows who else might stop by before we get out of here today. Again, it's been a cool week, being right here in our city. Went to an event last night with some of the Outkick guys and just running into people, and they're like, how much do you love that it's in Nashville? And I'm like, well, I love that I can go home. I can go sleep in my own bed. That has certainly been the perk in all of that. You can weigh in on anything that we talk about today, 615-737-1025 on our text line and phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I'm curious of the pulse. We're not doing a pulse today because we're about to go to Lane Kiffin. The pulse of the Vols fan. How much? I mean, I'm always interested to hear what the coaches have to say. I was a little disappointed in some of the questions for Nick Saban yesterday, but I know that Mark Stoops spoke. Jared asked him about Will Levis, which was cool. That he obviously gave that perspective and having coached him the last couple of years, but. I think Kiffin, can bring some stuff, but I'm curious of the pulse of the Vols fan and what they're wanting to hear from their head coach, what they're wanting to hear from players. How much do they really care, or is it pretty much just get on the field and see what you got? Obviously, the media voting on order of finish and different things, and so that's always a cool thing about the last day of SEC Media Day. So. A lot of stuff happening here as things wrap up. The final countdown before camps open and the actual season gets underway. It's hard to believe that, it's July 20th. Vanderbilt opens their season against Hawaii. I think it's August. Is it August 26th? I mean, it's a little over a month away. It's hard to believe, Nick.
I will say this. You were talking about Vols fans and the pulse and how are they feeling right now. I'm pretty sure they're feeling pretty good after their 5-star wide receiver Mike Matthews committed to them last night. That is what I'm more intrigued about with Vols fans. Bringing in a lot of big hitters, especially like Mike Matthews out of Lilburn, Georgia. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But his final, choices were Tennessee, Clemson, Georgia, and USC. So to be, choosing the Vols over USC, Georgia, and Clemson, that's a pretty good list to be, with.
Yeah, 100% for sure. So I'm curious to see how, now that Josh Heupel's gone through this a time or two, how he navigates these waters, and some of the questions in college football. But one thing that's been a discussion all week is Tennessee a one and done? Was that a flash in the pan, or are they back? Is it for real? So again, time will tell, and curious to see how he does that. Lane Kiffin, though, I always am looking forward to what he has to say. Because, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought last year was probably his last SEC Media Days. At Ole Miss, I should say. I thought he was going to get another job somewhere, but he didn't. He has stayed there. He stayed true to Ole Miss. That seems to be a good fit. I mean, it fits him, fits his personality. And obviously he's put some pretty good teams on the field since he's been there too. It's going to get harder for him, especially with the divisions going away. But I am curious of the Lane train. I mean, Nick, you talking about polarizing. That is Lane Kiffin, especially still around here. There are Vols fans that still have not forgiven him.
Yeah, after leaving Knoxville the way it just went so sour. Polarizing. How can you not love Lane Kiffin at media days and also on the field? I'm a Mississippi State guy, so seeing Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin go at each other during the Egg Bowl was a pretty special moment. But now with Lane Kiffin going into this season, honestly, his biggest test is going to be September 23rd against Alabama and then the following week against LSU. So those are two games that are on the docket as usual for Ole Miss, and I'm intrigued to see how they bounce back if they lose one or if they lose both of them, because if they lose both, they'll have to somehow hit the ground running again against Arkansas, and that's not easy. There's no gimmies in the SEC, especially if they're conference games.
No, 100%. You mentioned Mike Leach, the late great Mike Leach. I'm gonna be honest. I've been a little down at times this week because he's not here, and there's been different things that they've done to honor him. One of those, Greg Sankey was on with Jared yesterday and mentioned he's not wearing a tie because Mike Leach hated ties, and that was like a thing for him. So he was not. He didn't wear a tie. And so the commissioner has not been wearing a tie this week to honor Mike Leach, and I think that's really cool.
It really is, and that's the thing I'm really intrigued about for Mississippi State going into the season was Zach Arnett, who was the defensive coordinator at the time when Mike Leach was head coach. I'm intrigued to see how this just team in general decides to switch gears, if they're going to be more defensive-minded or if they're going to be still more offensive-minded like the air raid Mike Leach had them going at. I'm intrigued to see how that all plays out. I mean, Zach Arnett definitely deserving of the job. It's great to see they've done it all in-house, but I'm intrigued to see which avenue they go. Is it more defensive or offensive? Yeah.
So the Colts have just I just saw this. The Colts have put out an alternate uniform, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's a black helmet with all the blue markings on the black helmet, and then a all blue top, or all blue top and pants with white stripes on the shoulders. Yeah, I don't know about this. I mean, they kind of look like Duke. You've seen the Duke uniforms with the black helmet. That's kind of what they look like.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Hey, you know what? Maybe Lane Kiffin has something to say about some maybe powder blue uniforms coming up. He's at the podium. Let's see it.
Let's go to him.
Keith Carter, athletic director, our chancellor, Boyce, for keeping us here and believing in what we're building here, and our Ole Miss fans in the city of Oxford has been awesome. So excited for this fourth year coming up. To recap, we were on a really good run. I'm not going to say a great run because we have extremely high standards, but coming off the 10-3 season, and really last year we were 8-1, and with the ball in our hands to go down, I want to say the 14-yard line, 1st and 10, with a chance to beat Alabama, to have a great home win and go to 9-1, and so that was a really good run for a season and 9 games there. And then I didn't do a very good job at the end of the year of keeping our team together. I think, not as an excuse, but I set it up here a year ago. The challenge is when you have such a roster overhaul and so portal heavy. And I've said I've always been concerned about culture issues when you do that because you don't have kids that have been there very long. So And I said one of those challenges, even if you look at the NBA when they put together these good free agent teams, is if seasons don't go great, it's very hard to keep everybody playing at a high level because the expectations were so high. So I think down the stretch there, after the Alabama game, I didn't do a good enough job of finding a way to keep our guys playing at a high level because we did not play to our standards at the end of the season. So excited about this season coming up. There's been a ton of change, 40 new scholarship players. It's kind of the world that we live in. I think everybody's experiencing that more than ever on their roster. And I think every place has their own plan, and every place does things differently, I would think, I would speak for myself, based off of what you need to do at that place to win. There's not this blueprint that's everywhere, that would be the same everywhere, in my opinion. Because you got to figure out high school kids, junior college kids, and then portal kids, and where your numbers go there. And with the relief from the 25 initial scholarship counters every year, that gets more creative of how you can put your roster together. For those who are not familiar, before there used to be a cap there, so you could not have these massive roster changes that you've seen at some places around the country. Also, Pete Golding coming in on defense. We're really excited about that change and what he brings. To bring him over from Alabama, have known Pete and people that worked with him a long time. He's ahead of the game, very intelligent, really great recruiter as well. So there's some transition there with a lot of new coaches and a ton of new players, and some that missed spring, like Cedric Johnson, who's here today, missed the spring. So this fall will be really important for us in all areas, but especially on defense, of putting all that together to play good defense. Some topics here that are out there, and so I'm going to address the portal NIL, what I kind of call disaster that we're in. And so I know that question's going to come. And the reason why I break that down usually is because I do afterwards get a lot of feedback from you guys in the media, or fans, that they're appreciative, of a coach that really addresses where it's at and what are the challenges with it. So first off, I've always said I think it's phenomenal that players get a chance to get paid, which is great. I do think, which I've stood up here and said before when it first happened, that there's going to be some major issues, and we're creating free agency with the portal. And with NIL, you've got a lot of pay for play going on, and that is what it is. So those two things combining, there just is not a system in place. And I don't think that there's any other sports at any level that are like this, that really you every year can opt into free agency, really twice a year. And I was just thinking on a plane ride over here, what if you had that in other sports? Tom Brady, Asia Wilson, Lionel Messi, LeBron James. What if every year those guys can opt into free agency twice a year, really, and they got no long-term contracts? Basically, everybody's not even on a one-month contract because they can leave in 2 windows. So it's just created a lot of issues, and these roster changes, and I'm not complaining about it because we take advantage, obviously, of free agency, but at the same time, I don't think that's really good for college football. These massive overhauls of rosters every year really is not in the best interest of college football. And then when you add the NIL at the same time, we've created, I've said it before, we got different caps and no luxury taxes. So now we got professional sports, because that really is what we are, what's been created now. And there's no caps on what guys can make or what teams' payrolls are. So when this first came out, it said, all right, basically whatever programs have the most aggressive boosters with the most money are going to get the players. And now we're adding some states that now you don't have to follow NCAA, and now the university can take their money and give it to the collective to give it to the players. So now we really have pay for play that the biggest schools with the most donors, most aggressive, and the school wants to spend the most money paying the players for play to come to their school is where we're at. So there's kind of your State of the Union on the situation of what all coaches are dealing with around the country. And really a poor system that isn't getting better now is going to get worse with this, because again, now we just look at recruiting rankings and you're going to see that they usually are going to follow this, donor base and what schools are going to decide to give the most money to the players. So it is what it is. We'll deal with it like we do with everything else, but somehow it's got to get fixed because there's no system around it. So, we did a really neat thing this off-season with mental health training for our staff. Myself, our coaching staff, everyone in our building went through a class. And I know at first people may think, okay, well, that's a good recruiting tool that you can say, hey, which I didn't even know at the time, we're the first staff to do this, that's trained in mental health. And be able to say that to parents in recruiting. That was not the motive at all. It really, when I talk about, creating a new box, not just thinking outside the box, and we do that in analytics, we do that in all areas, I feel like, in our program. We don't ever do anything because it's in that old book of how to coach and how to do things. In this mental health area, it really was not in that old school coaching book at all. It was just, hey, shut up and go practice and play, especially in the sport of football. So, just over the years of going through so many mental health issues with our players and coaches, and not having tools and not having a really good system in place, besides just sending them, across campus, to a mental health specialist. So I was excited to do that, and just excited for the education with that and the ability to see things and help our players. Is really neat, because they just go through so much. Players always have, but now because of the social media and every play, everywhere, everybody's seen every play, our players go through a lot. I remember they're kids, and they read all those things when fans or media say this play and they lost the game, and it's really challenging when you talk to the kids about how much that wears on them, as well as all the other issues they have to deal with. So that was pretty neat. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. Go ahead and take questions. Go ahead and start right away.
Jake Thompson, the Ole Miss Spirit, Lane, the penalties and the end of the Tennessee kind of investigation with all that came out this past week. Obviously, your history with that program and other programs that kind of going through those penalties, just your thoughts on that overall.
Well, that didn't take long. I got a lot of thoughts on that case, and the case at USC and the case at Tennessee, and the penalties and all that. And I'm not really going to get into that. We're here to talk about the Ole Miss team. Happy for Coach Heupel. I read where he was ecstatic about the penalties and the $8 million fine. So that kind of probably tells you about how severe the penalties are in their eyes. So I'm happy for them that they don't have to go through what we went through. So good for them.
Coach, we'll go into this middle section just to your right, second row.
Lane, hey, Joe Goodman, AL.com. I appreciated your candor on NAL. You're the czar of college football. How do you fix it? And that's the natural follow-up to your State of the Union.
Yeah, I don't like, it's like I tell our staff, I don't like you to tell me the problems but not the solution. So I feel like that in this one, that I don't have the exact solution because it is so complicated, and the commissioner, who's much more educated than I on these things, because I used to say they should be employees so they can have real contracts, so when you come, you can sign somebody to a 2, 3, 4-year contract, and but there's way more issues. That solves one problem, I think he said, but then it opens up 5, 10 more when they're actually employees of a university. So I don't have the exact answers. I've always said, when asked, shorten the windows, so at least we know what your roster is, and not so many chances for players, because really, like I said, I like the players get paid, but there's no other system like it. Like the player, I've told our players, I've told our parents of our significant players, like, it is a great time to be a kid or a parent, okay, with where college football is. I'm like, they'll probably eventually fix this, so you will be this one window of a couple years where you literally can leverage your program every window, or you can go into free agency and find the most money out there. And now we're seeing you really get paid 3 times if you want to. You can get paid coming out of high school. You can one-time transfer, go in, get the most money, get paid again. Then you can grad transfer and get paid again. So eventually you're not going to be able to do that, I would think, and have that leverage basically every semester to do that. So I've told them it's an awesome time for them.
Coach will stay in the same section over on the right-hand side. Right aisle, second row.
Hey Lane, Andy Witchery with On3. The Grove Collective is one of the 7 that's formed a collective association, and they plan on introducing a revenue sharing bill, or a model rather. So similar to the last question, what are your thoughts on potential revenue sharing in the future?
Okay, that mic went a little bit in and out there. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the collective at Ole Miss is one of 7 that has formed a collective association, and they plan to introduce a revenue sharing model in the near future. What are your thoughts on a potential revenue sharing model for college football players?
Yeah, I think there, again, almost like everything on this subject, there's good and bad to everything that comes in. I think that revenue sharing, on the surface would be great, because the players are getting paid and it's coming from the money they're helping make the university. But again, I kind of try to think things through, and the other things that happen when you do something, just like when everybody was like, oh, we got this NIL, it's great, and then, in this portal, it's great, whoa. And I'm not saying I was the only one saying it. I'm like, whoa, this is a disaster coming, because you just legalized cheating. And you just told donors they can pay the players. That's what you did. And then, it's supposed to be set up, well, it's really for your name, image, likeness, for your marketing. Again, that's not what happened. That's not what's happening. They're getting paid to go to school, so it's pay for play. So the revenue sharing sounds really good, but then they're like, okay, well, we're going to revenue share, and then that's all they get. And I said, okay, well, wait. But then they're still going to have NIL, which really isn't NIL for probably 99% of the kids. They're not really getting the money for their marketing rights. So then revenue sharing would be good, but then you're still going to have this. So they say, well, revenue sharing would make it an equal playing field, which is what Instill always wants to do, make things equal playing field. Well, obviously, is what we described, with no salary cap and everybody operating off of different budgets. That's not anywhere close. So I don't know that fixes it. It sounds good, but then you're still going to have, here's your revenue sharing pot that everybody's the same, but then here you're still going to have all this other money that donors can go give players, or the way it is now, in some states, the school just funnels the money to the players.
Coach will go here to our left on the near aisle.
Good morning, Coach. Johnny Ballpark Franks with Franks Media here in Nashville and Huntsville. For decades, head coaches have been reminding players, don't do anything to embarrass themselves, their family, teammates, and the university. Now, in this new college football world that we see with NIL, the transfer portal, how much more difficult is it for a head coach to get that message across, not just to the student athletes, but also to staff members as well?
Well, I think that's always challenging. I think the challenge now is everything they do is public, so anything they do that maybe years ago, because the cell phone videos and everything, didn't get out there, that basically you've got to figure that someone's watching in everything you do all the time. So it is more challenging for these guys. That is a great thing. You know, one of the few things that are great about cell phones is that actually, because now the players are held more accountable in everything that they do. So in that way, it's gotten easier.
Coach will go straight in front of you, fourth row.
Hey, Coach, Anwar Richardson from OrangeBloods.com. Coach, you and Steve Sarkisian are obviously really good friends. I want to see if you can tell me maybe how that friendship formed, if you have any good Lane Kiffin stories about that friendship, and of course, your thoughts on Texas joining the SEC.
Well, it takes Texas, Oklahoma. I'll go backwards there. Texas, Oklahoma coming in is amazing. I mean, I already look at our schedule, or like when they put out the one for 2024, and I actually joked to Steve Sarkisian yesterday about the scheduling, and I was like, well, I don't know why any coach would want to go to the NFL. Like, we're in it now. So, I mean, our schedule's like playing the NFL in the SEC now, especially adding those two. So, you know, hats off to the commissioner for getting that done and making the super conference of all time. And really the way it's set up, it's really like it's kind of everybody else and then that. You know, when you put together the competitiveness of the schedule compared to any other conference. I've had a great relationship with Sark. I've kind of said before, we kind of both grew up fast by being the USC experience and being part of Coach Carroll's staff and all the great players there. And you know, I think 34 straight wins, and if we can tackle Vince Young, you know, 3 straight national championships. So that was really cool to go through that with him. And then we've just always stayed close. I think he's doing awesome there. And, you know, the way he's flipped the roster and recruiting at such a high level and signing Arch, I think the future is extremely bright for Texas football.
Coach, we'll go to this middle section to our right on the front row, on the right out.
Coach Dan Harrelson, Vollswire. Brian Kelly mentioned this week about artificial intelligence having intriguing opportunities in recruiting in the future. What is your opinion on that? And really just not recruiting, like you said, transfer portal to keep forming a roster each offseason to find the best players that matches what you want to look for on the recruiting trail and in the portal.
Well, I'm the first to say up here, like when I know a lot about an area, I'm going to answer if I don't, I don't. So the artificial intelligence and using that in recruiting, I don't know about all that. So I can give you coach speak and pretend that I do. But the other part, what was the other part about?
Just to form a roster based off the model of a player that you're actually looking for.
Yeah, so the challenge on the roster is because of the different windows that you don't know what you have, you don't know what you're losing. You know, I mean, think about it this way. I mean, imagine in professional sports, really I'm going to give you another window because grad transfers can still leave. I think leave in training camp. So imagine like in professional sports, which again we are, so as far as it is with players, that you're coaching a player in camp and then they go, you know what, I don't like the way you're coaching me. I've graduated, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go play for another team. You know, and teams know that. I mean, people pre-portal and, you know, they know who's going in, they know who's graduated, so you're really dealing with that too, and that messes kids up. I say, like, it's really challenging for a kid. He's working out with his team in the off season, but then other schools are calling him about going there and him being fully invested when, hey, the strength coach yells at me, or I don't like this, where I am on the depth chart, and I can go, I can leave. You know, that's not really a good setup, and there's a reason. I feel like in college sports, we usually always look at professional sports as like, okay, let's learn. They're usually ahead of us, you know, when it comes to systems and rules of the play, you know, on game day. So we usually copy them, and in this situation, it's like they have this model that works about free agency windows, about long-term contracts. Again, like I said, look at all those great players. They just leave at any time during training camp. And for whatever reason, our model is not at all near theirs. So it's very difficult. And And you got dynamics in locker rooms too. Again, these players talk, they know what players get paid, and then you got dynamics around the country. Well, wait, I've been here, I've made these plays, and that guy just got here and he's going to make more money than me. So, again, not a good setup.
Coach, we'll go right in front of you, third row. Kirk.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. You mentioned boosters and the most aggressive and richest boosters will get the players. Where does Ole Miss boosters rank, relatively speaking, in the SEC? And could you name 2 or 3 of your most impactful transfers you got?
Well, I'm not about to start putting rankings out on boosters from top to bottom in the conference. God, I want to so bad, though. The commissioner said, remember, we've grown a lot, and you don't have to respond to every question, to show everybody you have the answer. So I'm gonna do that on this situation. But like I said kind of before, I want to look at the best booster in the country, and eventually the schools that have the most money that decide to pay the players. And just look at recruiting rankings the next few years, and that'll give you your answer. Because again, it is what it is, guys, and you can't fault them. You had 18-year-old kids deciding where to go. The number one thing they decide on is money, their salary. I mean, I think you guys would have done that when you're 18. So, I mean, you can't fault them. Why you see some kids going like, why is that kid going way over there? Well, you're going there because you're making more money. So you can't fault them for that. That's the setup that they're in. We have so many transfers coming in at so many different spots. It would be hard to single guys out. So it just is what it is nowadays. I mean, we look out there and there's times that, we joke and we like pause the film and go like, okay, well there's, we're like still learning names, but we know schools. We're like, well, there's a receiver from that school, there's a tight end from that, there's a receiver from that, the quarterbacks, USC, the running backs, SMU, and you end up going like, wait, our whole skill roster was from some other school, like we're an NFL team, like we drafted them from somewhere.
We have time for 2 quick ones. We'll start over here on the right, front row. Yep, there you go.
Evelyn Van Pelt with the Rebel Walk. You talked about it just a minute ago with the NIL and the locker room. How do you handle any kind of potential dissension? Because you're right, the players do know he makes this much and I make this much.
Yeah, the question is about handling the locker room with NIL issues and the players getting paid different, And I try to teach our guys like real life, and we say like pro mindset, like we have a pro mindset about how we run the program with guys and our expectations. So I get it because they come in complaining. I've been here. I transferred here, and now this guy, we hear this guy's going to make more money than me. And I said, you know what? I'm not saying it's fair, but get ready, that's life. That's going to happen. You're going to be in the NFL locker room, and you signed a contract, and this new guy, or you got drafted in the 4th round, and this new guy coming in, you're playing ahead of him, and he makes more money than you. And sorry to say, you want the real truth? Like I give them, it depends when you went in. Guys make more now than when they went in the portal a year or 2 ago. And then they used up their one-time transfer. So I'm like, hey, I'm just teaching you how life works. Like, it is what it is. You used your window. You don't have the leverage now to go in, until you graduate, because you can't go in a second time. So there's the truth of what really happens. But I teach them, hey, you basically signed a contract, even though you don't have a real contract. Like, you're here to play. You accepted whatever the terms are that you and the collective did. So go play and then figure it out after the season. My dad used to say that to coaches in his first meeting of the year. Hey guys, quit worrying about your contracts or whatever you sign, it is what it is. Let's get together, let's play really well, let's coach really well, and then worry about that in the off season. So that's what I tell them now. The best way you make more money is to play really well.
Coach, we'll take one final question right in front of me, second row.
Yes. Coach Kiffin, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I remember vividly seeing a picture of you sitting in the stands at Pike Road High School watching Quinshon Judkins. You had TJ Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris. What did you see in Quinshon that you thought was special, and how much better can he get?
Well, Quinshon is really special. I mean, think about what he did as a freshman, to come in and have that workload. I think he led the SEC in carries and yards and touchdowns as a freshman. So, and like any freshman, you can get a lot better in year two. We're able to get Kevin Smith, coach back from Miami that's been with us before. And so I think that that's really beneficial for him to have him as someone that's also was a great college player that's gone through all this hype and that comes with it, because that's his biggest challenge is his footwork and his pass protection. Even though he's really mature and a great kid, guys, these kids are young, and now they're getting all that attention around the country. They're the best player, all the rat poison from your coach, and now they got money. So now it's kind of like, whoa, you talk about ego coming in. I mean, so this is a lot of challenges on these kids. Again, it's great they get paid, but here's a whole new set of challenge because a big motivation for a lot of players is to get to the NFL to get money. Well, now they already have money. So there's a lot of challenges in here in dealing with ego, which is really dangerous.
Coach, thank you for your time this morning.
All right, guys, thanks. Have a good day.
Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head football coach, the Lane train rolling through SEC media days, and definitely took NIL on. He wanted to talk about that, and that pretty much was the theme of what all he had to say during his open portion and then his Q&A portion as well. We'll react to a little bit more of that. Vince Ferrara going to join us at 9:45 to talk about the Vols and preview what Josh Heupel is going to have to say. That is all ahead. But first, Superbook Sports, let me tell you about them. We're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer. At Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. Right now, you can use my promo code CHASE when you sign up, CHASE, to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 by using the promo code CHASE. It is that simple. Just download it and get to betting. They have some futures up right now for college football, for pro football. It is all right there at the palm of your hand. It's such an easy app to use as well. I mean, you sign up, you put my promo code in, Chase, and then it's all right there. They even have a section for Tennessee teams that includes some early lines for the Titans and their win totals still at 7.5. It's all right there. Use my promo code CHASE to get that $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
They fight.
Jared, you're how do you know, Joe? How do you know?
And fight.
And because of that,
How do you know that, though? How do you know that? But that's okay. It's Jared and Joe. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m., Jared Stillman and Joe Rexroad debate the big topics in sports. Jared versus Joe. Presented by Pella Windows and Doors and Parman Tractor and Equipment on Stillman and Company. Wednesdays at 5 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
You've waited long enough. Now, Grammy Award-winning rapper, entrepreneur, and actor 50 Cent is hitting the road. The Final Lap Tour 2023. Get Rich or Die Trying 20 years later. Featuring Busta Rhymes and special guest Jeremiah. Bridgestone Arena, Friday, July 28th. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
Hey, Tennessee, when you bet on Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in town, you get the best reward possible. Cold, hard cash. You bet with your own money, so why accept anything less from your rewards program? With Zen Sports, you earn cash on your bets, cash on your referrals bets, and a welcome bonus in, you guessed it, cash. So stop settling for Vegas rewards when we're in Tennessee. Cash in your old sportsbook for Zen Sports. Your wallet will thank you later. Zen Sports. Betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up and in Tennessee to bet.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
I can't wait for what's next, even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Pixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
There's no hiding from Bluebell Monster Cookie Dough Ice Cream. Creamy vanilla ice cream, peanut butter monster cookie dough, brown sugar, candy-coated chocolate, and dark chocolate flavored chunks. A taste so good, you'll need a bigger bowl.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell Ice Cream at all Kroger stores and Lawrence Foods in Kingston Springs.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Today's world is filled with many things that can push any of us to our limit. An upcoming move should not add to that list. When you choose Black Tie Moving, you are going to get a highly awarded Inc. 500 company. From the free estimate by a local professional moving consultant to the red carpet treatment you receive on the day of your move, their trained and dedicated team is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the process. Call 844-920-2966. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life.
Jasper's on West End Avenue is your neighborhood bar and restaurant. They offer a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, a large bar, lounge area, and patio seating, plus free parking. That's right, free parking on West End. Come into Jasper's today to enjoy their elevated bar fare and well-crafted cocktails. Happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, and now game night every second and fourth Thursday. Drop in anytime where you can win gift card prizes each week. That's Jasper's on West End Avenue, Nashville's place to gather, play, eat, and drink.
Hey, did you tune in late? It's okay. It happens. You can subscribe to the Chase McCabe podcast wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, doesn't matter. Rate, subscribe, and review today.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Live SEC Media Days, Grand Hyatt Hotel here in Nashville. Lane Kiffin just wrapping up his portion. Shane Beamer will be up, and then Josh Heupel will put a bow on things. Excited to say hello to our old friend Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal WNML in Knoxville. Obviously covers the Vols, does mornings for them. What's up, Vinny? How are you, man?
Chaser, man, I'm good. This Central Time Zone stuff for the morning show is tough. No. Joe Robbie,
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a different world, and I'm going to lose an hour going back. But man, it's fun to be here, and nice way to cap it off with Tennessee at the end, because then you don't lose your fans. Like some of these teams, if they go the first day, fans are like checking out the rest of the week.
Right.
Now you get the build up, you get to ask everybody else about Tennessee, and then you get to Tennessee and you're out of here.
Yeah, and let's start with, I guess, the bad stuff. I mean, I know Mark Stoops was asked about it. Lane Kiffin was just asked about it, about the penalties. And they're they're doing what they should do and saying, like, look, I'm worried about my house and what's going on here. But Lane can obviously speak on penalties and things from his time at UT. Obviously, he's come a long way since then. But Josh Heupel, I would assume, is going to be asked about it, even though it wasn't on his watch. But now that we know what those penalties are, how do you think he's going to address it?
He's going to handle it fine, which I think will keep it from really continuing and having more tentacles. He's not going to give it any more legs. There's really nothing to latch onto, and he's going to handle it fine. I think he might have done an SEC Network interview before we got here, so he's kind of already – tossed it out there and squashed it. And look, we had Danny White on our show yesterday, and he said, look, it's a fair result. That's what they wanted. They obviously spent a lot of money in legal fees to get to this end result. They were hit with some stuff. I mean, that $8 million fine is significant. And he told us when we asked him that's not going to do any sort of dent or delay on any of the renovations to both Neyland Stadium and Lindsey Nelson Stadium. A lot of that money is earmarked specifically for those projects. So that's a positive. But, the recruiting stuff they've been planning, they can spread it out over 5 years. The big thing was avoiding the postseason ban.
Right.
That was their number one priority, and they were able to do that. So this year's team isn't impacted by what the NCAA gave them in terms of additional penalties. So they have a plan for it, and everything is still on the table for them. And they've gotten good enough to where that matters, Chase. And some other years you're like, okay, whatever. Who knows if Tennessee will make a bowl game. In fact, remember this, I didn't even really talk about this. Remember the conversation about whether Tennessee should go ahead and self-impose a bowl ban.
Right? I do remember that.
And try to get ahead of it. Well, that wouldn't have been good because they were able to get to a bowl game their first year, both years under Josh Heupel. So you didn't lose out on any of that because they were so cooperative. It played out well for them.
Yeah, 100%. Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville is here with us. Mike Matthews. So he's going to be in a good mood because you landed Mike Matthews. I know he probably can't really talk about it all that much.
But, not specifically.
But he did land Mike Matthews, a 5-star wide receiver that's going to be coming into the fray.
Yeah, and look, Tennessee has recruited very well, and there's more upside for them. If you're going to catch Georgia, you got to start stacking up some 5-stars, and your hit percentage has got to be good. So they needed some more 5-stars added to that. The good thing is that that's a position where there's still some depth in guys that they can add on to this class. They got a 4-star in Braylon Staley from South Carolina. Matthews, I think On3 has him as the number 14 overall player. I think ESPN has him as the number 5 overall player.
Yeah.
And that's a wide receiver. And something else we looked up during the show this morning, give you this little nugget. He is the highest rated wide receiver if he ends up signing at Tennessee ever, according to 24/7 Sports. They do kind of a historic numbers because they put a number next to it. Previously, that was Derrick Rogers, which is now 13th overall. He would be the highest rated if they, those rankings can change a little bit. But as it sits right now, he'd be the 9th highest rated player ever signed by Tennessee if it gets there. Nico is number 3, Bryce Brown number 1, Eric Berry 2.
Yeah, wow. There's some history for you. Speaking of Nico, I guess everybody is excited about him, but they're hoping that he's going to sit all year behind Joe Milton because Joe Milton's going to take these reins.
I would say one little tweak to that, they hope he doesn't have to start.
Yes.
They want to see him, and I think he'll have opportunities to play just like Joe Milton had opportunities to play last year. So definitely they want to see him and get excited about him. And that there's no quarterback controversy right now.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for Joe Milton being the Orange Bowl MVP to where we didn't have to take an off season to talk about a quarterback controversy. He squashed that. And so he is definitely QB1. But I think fans want to see him. And, boy, I don't think it's going to take long if Joe Milton was to struggle in a big game like a Florida loss with a couple picks or something. By the way, he has not thrown an interception in a Tennessee uniform yet in a couple of years. So that would be surprising. But, look, there's going to be some sort of stumble along the way. And if he does, and Nico may have already come in mop-up duty and looked phenomenal, fans will restart that conversation pretty quick.
But doesn't this feel so different, though, than years past of, trying to figure out who the quarterback is, the heir apparent. And now they've gone from Hendon Hooker back to Joe Milton. Hendon Hooker was on the show on Monday and obviously praising him and Joe and, their friendship. But now that it seems like there's a clear picture of what quarterback in the now and the future looks like. And it's been a while since we've really been able to say that about Tennessee.
Yeah, remember 2 years ago, it was a 4-quarterback race, and including Milton and Hooker, and the coaching staff picked Milton. And then people forget. People act like it was just Hooker, that Milton got benched and Hooker took over. It was actually an injury on a sack fumble, and Milton wasn't able to come back. Hooker just played so well, he never gave up his gig. But it was actually an injury that opened the door, even though Milton had those overthrows on the deep ball. So, but it's unbelievable that those two, even though they were still competing and Milton had lost his job, one didn't leave.
Yeah.
Two, they became best friends and roommates. And Hooker's talked about how Milton helped him kind of loosen up a little bit. And I think you're going to see the Hendon Hooker influence on Joe Milton this year. He's not Hendon Hooker.
Right.
They're not going to be exactly the same. But in terms of the studying, the leadership, the accountability of teammates, all those things, you're going to see a Hendon Hooker influence. That's why I think you're going to see a very good Joe Milton, even if he's not a Heisman Trophy candidate. They can still win a lot of games if he's not in the Heisman conversation.
Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt go to the NFL, and we saw that. What does the wide receiver room, because it'll be a year before we see Mike Matthews, what does the wide receiver room look like for them this year?
I like it. They have some guys that obviously will be in elevated roles. I think you start with Brew McCoy, the USC transfer, who was outstanding last year. He is healthier than he was last year. I think he will probably lead the team in receptions. Then you've got Squirrel White, who really broke on the scene. Yeah, and you'll see him in the slot. He's got the run after catch opportunities. That's why Milton's got to be really good with those short to intermediate throws because, man, if you're on the money and you're not zooming that past him, he can make some things happen after the catch. I don't know if Tennessee has had a weapon like that with the yak yards. And then you've got a number of other guys as well, young guys that the Caleb Webbs and Chaz Nimrod, those are second-year guys that were track guys at 6'3". And then, of course, I mentioned Ramel Keaton, but then there's a Oregon transfer in Dante Thornton. I think Thornton could be the leader in either receptions or yards, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They've got a good group. It's only 8 scholarship guys, but I think it's a good group. And then Nathan Laycock is a freshman. Man, he is talented. He was the talk of the bowl practices outside of Nico. That's how talented he is. So they typically only play, 3 or 4 wide receivers. So there's still a lot of competition for who gets to play. I think it's a good group. They didn't really need beyond Thornton to go in the portal to bring a guy in.
Real quick, we've talked a lot about the offense. What do you think the defense will be this year in year 3 of Josh Heupel?
It will determine, outside of Joe Milton, it will determine everything.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be Georgia the last couple of years. They need to be a little bit better, and they can't have the horrific games. They had about 3 of those last year where they were just lit up. Florida, Anthony Richardson's breakout. His
offense bailed him out.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And that was his peak. And then Alabama, obviously, they gave up a ton of yards and points. And then South Carolina, where it was a complete mess. They are healthier, Chase. They're very experienced in the back end. Most of those guys are either seniors or redshirt seniors. But are they good enough? Those guys don't know. And then they need pass rush. Byron Young, 3rd-round pick of the Rams, led them in sacks with 7. The next closest was 3. So can the James Pierce Jr.'s or the Joshua Josephs, someone be a difference maker to get that key sack or strip, force fumble on 3rd down, get them off the field enough? And we'll see on the transfers, too, what kind of impact Omar Lott, who came over from Arizona State, Keenan Peele, the linebacker, Gabe Judy Lally, former Vandy, DB from BYU. If those guys can help elevate the talent, then they can make enough of an improvement to – win some games and maybe beat another big boy out there.
Well, looking forward to hearing what Josh Heupel has to say later on today. Vince, good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Vince Ferrara, WNML, the sports animal in Knoxville, joining us. Jill Jelnick, Fox 17 sports director, is up next here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce. They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Catch Sounds Baseball at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Miami Marlins affiliate, and we celebrate Throwback Thursday. The team will wear our classic 1978 uniforms, and you can enjoy $2 and $4 drink specials all night. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. With 35 miles of sugar white sands and emerald green Gulf waters, it's no wonder why. Let's unwind under the sun on Clearwater Beach, ranked #1 beach in the South by USA Today readers. And then liven up the night at the Sound, a new outdoor waterfront concert venue featuring performances this summer by Peter Frampton, the Goo Goo Dolls, and more. Let's shine. Plan your getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
All of us at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game want to recognize our active military, veterans, first responders, and educators with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glow, the bombs bursting in, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner
is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nate Keiser. Are the Tennessee Titans a favorable team in the AFC South with DeAndre Hopkins? Jonathan Hutton shared his thoughts on Caroline Willie and D-Mace yesterday afternoon.
Now I think you give some hope and momentum back in, a little boost in the passing game. But this still comes down to, can they protect Ryan Tannehill or not? And there's a lot of questions there just based on, factors of last year with injuries and guys going down, guys getting moved around, guys not panning out with who they brought in.
And today is the final day of SEC Media Days right here in Nashville. Lane Kiffin, Shane Beamer, and Josh Heupel are set to speak today. Stay tuned for updates right here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 5-3 last night and are back in action tonight with pregame at 6:20 over on 94.9 The Fan. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air. Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Nashville. The suit is in the building. Acknowledge me. Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 2, Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, live today. SEC Media Days, day 4, the final day of SEC Media Days here at the Grand Hyatt in Nashville, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Appreciate them for being on board with us this week. Joined now by Fox 17 Sports Director Jill Jelnick. Of course, one of my good friends, too. Hi, Jill. What's up?
What up? Good morning. Happy final day of SEC Media Days.
When I walk through Radio Row and I look at everybody, I can tell they're glad this is the final day.
Oh, man, the final stretch. The final countdown.
The final countdown, indeed. And I asked Amanda from SEC Network, this PR, said, how are we doing? And she goes, surviving. We're not thriving. We're surviving. That's where we're at.
I would say, I would argue that the Nashville media, we might be thriving because it's been so nice to sleep in my own bed.
Yes.
Not worry about the travel, not worry about hustling back to make deadline.
Right.
It's been really great having this here this week.
So Josh Heupel is going to address the media coming up in just a little bit. What is it that you're looking for to hear from him? You know that NIL's on the table, transfer portal is on the table. Some of the stuff with Northwestern might be on the table. And then obviously the penalties that were handed out last week. But what are you looking for from Josh Heupel?
All the things you just mentioned too, it technically has nothing to do with the players on the field for his team. So I think I'm excited for him to address everything, right? NIL, obviously the 200 plus penalties. My goodness. And then I want him to move forward and talk about this football team because I think there's just so much excitement surrounding this Big Orange coming off of their impressive year with him where they took a huge step forward in the SEC, finishing 11-2 overall. I can't wait to see how this team builds off that momentum from last year because while there were times they were in the national championship conversation, how much were they really? I look at that Georgia-Tennessee game, middle of the season, and how much that was a turning point for, unfortunately, the wrong way for them. But I'm just excited for him to kind of get up here today, address all of these questions, knock out NIL, knock out what happened with the previous regime, and then move forward and talk about the guys he has and the excitement about both the offense and the defense.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Jill Jelnick is with us, Fox 17, because there's hype with this team. We've asked several people that have come on, do you think Tennessee was a one-and-done thing, a flash in the pan, or do you think they're for real? And everybody is going, no, I think they're for real. I think Tennessee's back. To what extent are they back? Can they get through Georgia? Can they get through Alabama 2 years in a row? that, you have to go play the games. But I think the excitement is real with Tennessee right now.
I completely agree. And we talked about the big step they took last year, knocking off Alabama. Unfortunately, not being able to knock off Georgia, but still having a successful season overall. Can they make an even bigger jump this year? Can Heupel take this program and put them into the college football playoff, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what Vols fans want. That's what every team wants. Get into that college football playoff. That to me is the expectation.
Yeah, and you'd love to see them do it before the expansion, because then you can sit there and go, well, we made the Final Four, but it's a tough conference, as we know. It's only
and it's only getting tougher.
It's only getting tougher. And coaches have been talking about that, some more than others. Nick Saban yesterday said he thinks adding Texas and Oklahoma is great for the conference and the growth. I don't know
Coach Kiffin this morning.
Coach Kiffin said that. I don't know if they truly feel that way.
Yeah.
but it's the right thing to say.
The competitor in all of these coaches and in all of these teams knows that when the conference gets stronger and better, they have an opportunity to get stronger and better.
And I wonder how much Oklahoma might come up for Josh Heupel. Obviously, there's a personal connection there. He played there and was a coordinator there. I think there's still a little bit of that, extra oomph with it, but I'm
Maybe
curious if
that
that
is
comes
brought
up
today. Yeah.
I think it might be with them coming on board. Joe Milton is one of the best stories in college football. We got to see how it all plays out. Hendon Hooker was on the show on Monday talking about him and their friendship. They were roommates. How special is it going to be to watch him take this program and make it his?
I think Joe Milton is the majority of the excitement of this team, right? We know that Coach Heupel runs that high-powered offense, that high tempo. It goes through the quarterback. And Joe Milton, we've seen the cool thing is we've already seen him play. We know what he can do. His accuracy is that question mark that we've been asking the last couple of years, but assuming that he is getting better each year and moving and becoming a better quarterback, being more accurate, I think that's the majority of the excitement of this team is Joe Milton. He has to stay healthy. He has to continue to improve, get better, and again, address the accuracy and making sure he is doing everything that he can on his end to put the Vols offense in the best position possible and run that thing like they did last year.
Hard to believe. Shifting gears, Jill Jelnick is with us, Fox 17. Training camp opens for the Titans next week. Mike Vrabel will address the media, and they will likely introduce their new receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, that they signed to a 2-year deal. We talked about it for, Jill, I think 2 months of could he come here? Is it the Titans? Is it the Patriots? The Titans end up landing him. How big of an impact do you expect him to make?
Massive. Massive. But here's the thing. That's what I expect. That's what I think, but that's also what I expect.
Yeah.
He cannot have anything less than a huge impact on this offense because they need the help. I think that's why we were so interested in having Hopkins here, because we knew coming into this offseason that the biggest area of need was wide receiver.
Yeah.
Traylon Burks is coming off a solid rookie year, but for him to take over as wide receiver 1 and then not have a solid wide receiver 2 and unclear about the depth after him, that was a huge question mark and a huge concern for this new offense under Tim Kelly. Now you bring in Hopkins, not only playbook.
Yep.
Take pressure off Derrick Henry. How many times did we see defenses stack the box against Derrick Henry and then now the Titans can't run the ball. They tried to throw the ball and it was like this vicious circle of why are we doing the same thing over and over again? They needed more help last year. I think Hopkins is the help this year.
I agree with that. And I'll tell you, he's going to help Traylon Burks. We know that. I think it's going to help Chigakonkwo too.
Absolutely.
I think this is a year where Chigakonkwo is going to take a huge step because they're going to use him more.
I hope they do. I think Chigakonkwo, I think he was one of the silver linings that came out of last season. Him and Traylon Burks, when Burks was healthy, him looking stronger, faster, knowing just the offense better at a second year into with the team. There's no question to me that he is primed to take a step forward. And now with Hopkins, of course, Derrick Henry, your veteran quarterback coming back, this offense overnight with this signing, just became an AFC South contender.
Yeah, and I'm curious too of who our camp darling's going to be. You know,
Ooh,
there's
always love that.
Always the camp darling. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen it over the years because I think it needs to come out of the receiver room, because even though you have Traylon Burks and you have DeAndre Hopkins as the 1-2, I need to see something out of Kyle Phillips. I think everybody now is kind of in the role that they're meant to be in, but, you know, can Westbrook-Akina step up? Chris Moore, somebody that they signed in the offseason, Colton Dowell, the 7th-round pick, Racey McMath. I think you're going to see some interesting battles there in the receiver room.
I completely agree. And then looking at defense, I think you also have some new faces in the secondary and some players with something to prove.
Yeah.
Looking specifically at that cornerback position, man, that's a toss-up to me right now. I think the secondary is going to be an intriguing storyline. And, of course, whoever the camp darling will be.
Mike Vrabel going in, what is this, year 6, 5? They all run together. You've covered him now. This will be your 3rd year covering Mike Vrabel. What has been something that you've taken away from your time covering the Titans head coach?
He's such a player's coach.
Yeah.
He will always defend his players first and make sure that he's doing what's best for them. I really, truly believe that. I think it comes across in his pressers. I think it comes across in his answers. I think it comes across in his moods.
Yeah.
He will protect his team and his family, and I think that goes back to the culture he's been trying to create since day one here in Nashville.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Jill, good to see you. I know you got to go and talk to Coach Heupel before he addresses
a little
the
local
big
media sesh,
but good luck with that. And
thank you.
We'll be watching tonight at 9 and 10, and then Sunday at 10 o'clock for Sports Overtime.
Our pal, former Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders, will be talking, breaking down DeAndre Hopkins and all the training camp stuff.
We call him forever Titans wide receiver.
I'm so sorry. Forever Titans wide receiver.
He will always be a Titans wide receiver.
Thanks
Jill
for having
Jonick,
me,
Fox
Chase.
17 with us. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jill. Coming up next, we'll get more into some of the comments that have been made this week on DeAndre Hopkins and the impact he can make with the Tennessee Titans. We'll do that next. Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad. It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Dominic Cavity.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All summer items have to go. $2,900 pools, only $19.99 installed.
What about the spas?
A $4,000 spa is on sale at $29.99. Save even more on scratch and dents and floor models.
Patio furniture's on sale too?
All Family Leisure summer furniture is 50% off or more. Huge discounts on display models and discontinued items.
Grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All the summer inventory is on sale.
Family Leisure summer clearance sale, Franklin and Antioch.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel stays true to the spirit of Music City, the perfect spot for sports and arena concert fans year-round. Savor Bar Lines Originals, the Bar Line Barbecue Burger or Midtown Mushroom Swiss Burger. Excite your taste buds with the Sobro Grinder with smoked turkey, the Boss Hog with whiskey braised pork butt, and the Angry Chicken, pickle brine fried chicken breast with honey sriracha. Attending an event downtown? Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily at 11 a.m. is a great way to kick off your afternoon or evening.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
This is Chase McCabe.
Good to meet you. You know why it's good to meet me? Because I'm smart and I'm right.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Well, I think the money fits. I think that's the thing that we talked about the last couple of weeks about, the money that he was looking for, and questioned whether or not he was ever going to be able to get into the realm of really what Odell Beckham Jr. was able to achieve. And although I've not had a chance myself to lay my hands on the physical contract itself, from what I've seen, he looks like he achieved really what he wanted to achieve. He's going to get paid, $13 million, over 2 years. And, it's still a deal where I would like to see exactly how it's structured. Haven't had a chance to wrap my hands around the deal itself. But I will say this. I talked to someone with the Patriots, and look, they said flat out, like, we weren't going to meet that deal. And it was smart for him to take the money that he ultimately took with the Tennessee Titans. And I think it speaks, in terms of what it speaks for DeAndre Hopkins, at least how the Patriots viewed it. He's the number one receiver for the Tennessee Titans. They're going to pay him in a fashion that is clearly going to lay out the runway for him to be the top receiver for the Titans. And it's interesting, and I think it changes, at least externally, how you look at the view of the Titans. This is the kind of deal that says, okay, they're not in a total rebuild mode right now. This is a player that they went out and got that they value at least enough to pay him like a number one wide receiver. And between Hopkins and Treylon Burks and, the running back depth chart, I would say it opens the quarterback window a little bit for a guy like, let's say, Ryan Tannehill, or if it ends up being one of the younger guys there. So it's definitely an interesting deal, somewhat unexpected. I think the Patriots are a little bit blindsided by the amount of money the Titans are willing to, really commit to this, because I think the Patriots thought we're going to get Hopkins on a one-year deal, and that didn't ultimately happen.
That was Charles Robinson earlier this morning on Robbie and Rex Road, as he joins every week on Thursday, talking about the DeAndre Hopkins signing by the Titans. Welcome back in. Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting live SEC Media Days, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Hey, right now, text the word boxing, BOXING, to 615-737-1025, and you can enter to win a pair of tickets to see Misfits Boxing X Series 008 at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium this Saturday. That's boxing to 615-737-1025 now to enter. So the Titans offense with DeAndre Hopkins, we were just talking to Jill Jelnick about that as training camp opens up next week. I guess the nice part about this is you obviously know the quarterback. You obviously know the running back. You know the top two receivers. Kyle Phillips is supposed to slot in as the third receiver or potentially play in the slot. And then there's a battle behind that. Do you carry 5? Do you carry 6? I always like to carry 6, especially if you can find that one that can play special teams just to give you the extra receiver. But battles that we haven't really talked about that I think are going to be interesting in training camp is second tight end. I mean, Chigakonkwo is going to be tight end 1 now that Austin Hooper has moved on. But who's going to be the guy behind him in tight end 2? Because I think that's going to be just as important. Trevin Wesco is a guy they signed in the offseason, and they did draft Josh Wiley out of Cincinnati, but he's a rookie. I think he's unproven. Want to see what kind of camp he's going to have. So I'm kind of curious about tight end 2 behind Chigakonkwo, because I can't help, not to be a downer here, but I can't help but think with some of the injury issues that the Titans have had over the course of the last few years, having who's next is just as important as having who the starter is going to be. And so, they're bringing in, they got a large group of tight ends, including Trevin Wesco, Josh Wiley, who they drafted. Kevin Rader's a guy that's been around. They have Thomas Oduyika, I hope I'm saying that right. Elise Mack, that's a one-year guy that they brought in, and Justin Riggs. So I would assume you'll see 3 tight ends and then potentially 6 receivers. And then, of course, we know about the offensive line and how that could potentially be with Nicholas Petit-Frere being suspended. I'm hopeful that when they bring George Fant in that they end up getting a deal there. That was reported out there yesterday that the Titans could or they're going to bring in George Fant. Jordan Schultz put that out there that they're bringing in former Jets offensive tackle George Fant for a workout on Saturday, and there's a good chance that they're going to sign him. So that could be a guy that you slot into the right tackle spot with Nicholas Petit-Frere out for the first 6 games with the suspension. And so how does he fit into the offensive line? Could he hold that job? That's another question. But the offensive line is probably the largest question mark on the team, not only on offense, but is the offensive line actually better with the moves that they made in the offseason? And it's going to take us a while to tell. I mean, really, I don't think we're going to know until we start seeing them in preseason action. I'm hoping that whether Henry plays or Tannehill plays or Hopkins plays or Burks or whatever, you see that starting 5, that offensive line unit, get a significant amount of game reps before the season starts, because I think that is going to be very, very important to the success of this team if, as long as they get on the same page. I just can't believe that training camp's next week. It's hard to believe that it opens next week, Nick.
I will have to ask you about Fant real quick. If the Titans do sign him, does that raise any concerns about the signings of Dillard this past offseason?
I don't think so, because, you're bringing him in to be because you expected to have Nicholas Petit-Frere, and now you don't for 6 games. So I think it's more of that. I don't think it really raises concerns on Dillard. People that I've talked to, and I know Tron Davenport has been very high on him since before he was even signed, that he thought that Dillard would be a good fit here. I don't know if he's a starting left tackle, but we're going to find out. I think that's a question, because Peter Skoronski can play left tackle. He was drafted 11th overall, but you're going to put him at guard. Is that temporary, by the end of training camp, or are they reversed? Are we talking about Peter Skoronski as the left tackle taking over for Taylor Lewan? We don't know. I think there's the versatility, the fact that you have guys that can play different positions on the offensive line is certainly a big thing for the Titans, for Mike Vrabel, because they can plug some guys into different spots and see what they can do. But I like the idea of adding George Fant because he can fit into that right tackle spot while Nicholas Petit-Frere is out. And then, who knows? It might be good enough where the suspension cost Petit Frere his starting job. Because let's be honest, Petit Frere showed some rookie moments, to say the least, last year. So I think adding more depth on the offensive line certainly won't hurt the Tennessee Titans, as, again, they're going to bring in George Fant for a free agent workout on Saturday, and the reports could be that they're not going to let him leave without a contract. 615-737-1025. We'll take your calls and your texts on the Titans if you wish to weigh in on that. But coming up next, we shift back into the Tennessee Volunteers as Josh Heupel will address the media. We might even check in and hear a little bit of Shane Beamer as he addresses the media from South Carolina, because South Carolina is an interesting team to look at this year. We'll do all that next. Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
When it comes to Chase McCabe,
The Nashville Predators, the Titans, the NBA, college football, talk a little racing.
you get a little bit of everything.
But hey, you know what? We're getting it done.
Join Chase McCabe weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, PhD weight loss. We've been talking about that for a while now. Dr. Ashley Lucas is the brainchild behind it all. She has put this program together, best-selling author. And the best part about the program that she's put together, it's tailor-made for you, because I'm different than you are. So my program works for me. Your program will work for you, and you will see results instantly. And you have one-on-one coaching sessions with your coach each week. Mine's Rachel. She actually just texted me, seeing how I'm doing. That is what they deliver with PhD Weight Loss. Customized meal plans for you and what works for you, whether you're using their food, which 85% of the food is provided if you choose to use it, or they can teach you how to use your own food to work within the program so you can see those results. You're also being educated as you go along of how the body works and how eating different things will affect you in certain ways. It creates a better you. And the best part right now, if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That is their new offer guarantee. So why not give it a shot? MyPhDWeightLoss.com. That is the website, MyPhDWeightLoss.com. Go check it out. You won't regret it. Again, that's MyPhDWeightLoss.com.
The FedEx St. Jude Championship returns to TPC Southwind, August 9th through the 13th. Don't miss your chance to witness the top 70 players from the PGA Tour season battle it out in the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Only 50 players will make it through Memphis. Don't miss your chance to watch the drama unfold. Daily grounds and upgraded ticket options are on sale now at FedExChampionship.com.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Engines are roaring. Vehicles are being ripped apart piece by piece. Sparks are flying. This is a typical day at Lincoln Tech's NADC in Nashville, where auto, diesel, and heavy equipment maintenance technicians train for careers that are in demand across the state and country. Put your potential to work and enroll now for July classes at Lincoln Tech's NADC. Visit lincolntech.edu for details and to schedule a campus tour. That's lincolntech.edu.
Mom, we're out of potato chips.
Teenagers. They'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
Hi, I'm Chase McCabe with your PBR Minute. Nashville Stampede Days coming back to Nashville August 18th through the 20th at Bridgestone Arena. You can go to NashvilleStampede.com or Ticketmaster.com to get your tickets now. Justin McBride and his squad are ready to start the season, and they will do so coming up on Monday, July the 24th in Cheyenne, with a couple of games against Missouri and Texas. And Coach McBride will look to KK Pacheco to lead his roster, but who else is he looking at to make an impact?
Dinner Barbosa is actually a guy we drafted last year, had a broken back. People were kind of looking at us like, what the heck are y'all doing? He's a world-class bull rider. Didn't get to compete in teams last year. We've got him this year, and so I'm really excited to see what Dinner can bring to the team.
Tickets for the PBR's Nashville Stampede Days are on sale now, NashvilleStampede.com or Ticketmaster.com.
Hello, whoever it is going to be.
You want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about on today's show? Hit us up on our phone and text line at 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
It is Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, the Chase McCabe Show. Chase McCabe with you, live Radio Row, SEC Media Days, as we have been all week. Presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Josh Heupel will address the media coming up later this afternoon around noon. Shane Beamer from South Carolina is about to address the media. We'll probably check in with him in just a little bit, but what are you expecting to hear out of Josh Heupel? What do you want to hear out of Josh Heupel? 615-737-1025 is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I think Joe Milton is the big story for me. I know he's going to be making the rounds here shortly. We've seen some South Carolina players come through. Spencer Rattler was here. By the way, Spencer Rattler, I think I brought this up earlier in the week, that if you wanted to dabble, he's 60-1 to win the Heisman this year. I don't think he's going to, but the Heisman odds are always fun, especially this time of year, because look at last year where Hendon Hooker was, and obviously he didn't win, but that was certainly one to watch. Joe Milton's plus 2,500 to win the Heisman this year. So this is what I like to call Heisman dabbling season. If you want to find a long shot to jump on, certainly that is the time to do it. But the hype with the Vols and how much people are buying the Vols. Joe Tessitore from ESPN and the SEC Network was on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace yesterday, and he gave his thoughts on Tennessee and Joe Milton.
Was last year a one-off, or is this
No.
just a preview of what's to come?
Yeah, I think, first of all, offensively, no, because the stats prove it out. His system proves it. He has unlocked one of the keys to having success in college football offensively. We were fortunate enough, our ABC, ESPN crew, to spend the Orange Bowl lead up with him and call the Orange Bowl. And no, I don't believe it was a one-off, especially offensively. And then, obviously, you get recruiting momentum to fill in some things defensively. Are you going to have these same magical moments? I don't know. You can beat Alabama, like you got to play your A-plus game. They've got some things have to bounce your way. But I think the offense is there to stay. That's a philosophy. That's a scheme. That's a plan, and he executes it very well. I'm super high on Joe Milton.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next.
So, yeah, I am. I think, he's got one of these interesting careers, and I love guys that get a second chance. I think all American fans love the redemption story and the second act in sports because we all sit there and want a second chance on a lot of things in our life. And I think his attitude and his humility and gratitude and his sticking with something and being focused. You feel good about it. A guy who was the starting quarterback gives way to a guy who unexpectedly becomes the offensive player of the year. And then when he gets his chance, he goes out there in front of the whole nation, primetime Orange Bowl, and does what he did, and now is primed to have a big year. And obviously what's coming behind him with Nico is you have to be very bullish on the future of Tennessee for a lot of years to come, especially offensively.
That was Joe Tessitore yesterday in Caroline, Willie, and D. Mason, and I could not agree with him more because I think that Josh Heupel, and that's why it's so important to keep him long-term, to let him continue to build this. He's established what this offense can be. The offense is going to evolve. Great coaches always figure out a way to evolve. And so you have that. And then, as we were talking about with Vince Ferrara earlier in the show, you see a true view of how it's supposed to be at quarterback with Joe Milton now taking over, and then Nico down the line. Nico will eventually be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. You kind of know what the succession plan is when it comes to the Tennessee Volunteers, and so I think that has to make Vols fans feel good to know, like, you see a future, you see it now, and you see a future when it comes to this program. The question is going to be, they've got Mike Matthews that's committed, a 5-star wide receiver. How many more of those guys can they continue to add to the pipeline? How can Josh Heupel play the portal, and what happens with that to continue to have that success and build off that success and use that success to keep this thing going for years to come? Can they get to a situation where they're like Georgia, where it's taken years and years and years of heartache and years and years of building it up, and then it finally becomes something where year after year they're reloading when certain guys leave? That's obviously the goal and where Josh Heupel wants to get this program to. But that's easier said than done. It's not easy to go about that. Josh says on our text line, 615-737-1025, I do think the Vols are here to stay. My question is, can they get great recruiting from the defensive side? That's obviously going to be something that they're going to have to build with too. That was, as Vince Ferrara said, that not only is it Joe Milton, but it's the defense as a whole that's going to make this whole thing work. Can the defense make bigger plays than they did last year? At times, the offense was able to cover a lot of stuff up. So many times you talk about a defense covering up the holes of the offense. Well, it was kind of the opposite for the Vols last year. They're going to have to take a step in the right direction because this offense is great. This offense is prolific under Josh Heupel. Got to get great defensive play at the same time when you match up against teams like Georgia, teams like Alabama. And then soon Texas and Oklahoma when they come into the SEC.
Yeah, no, you make complete sense there, Chase. I will say this about the defense. I think you've already alluded to this a little bit, but the defensive interior has to be able to get to the ball more this season than last season. They went to the portal this year. They got a few guys from out west. They got a guy's name is Omar Norman Lott, defensive lineman now for the Vols, was currently at Arizona. I think that's going to be a huge addition to this defense. I'm really intrigued to see if they can really get pressure to the ball. That's really going to be the main factor, and actually the deciding factor between if this defense is legit or not.
Yeah, find me somebody that can get to the quarterback. Create a pass rush. I mean, how many times with the Titans have we talked about them improving the pass rush and what that can do? Well, they finally get a pass rush. And then you see what this defense has been. Who's going to be that guy for the Vols that's going to get to the quarterback or put pressure on the quarterback? Because that changes the whole dynamic when it comes to the defense. If they're able to put pressure on the quarterback, it helps everybody. It helps middle linebackers. It helps the corners. It makes the whole thing work. And, Josh Heupel is an offensive mind, and that's what he's known for. And that's great, and that's what he needs to continue to focus on. But as the head coach, it's all encompassing. And so I'm curious if he gets any of his media sessions that he's going to be doing, if he gets any questions about the defense and what work has gone into the defense and improving the defense, because it's certainly going to be something that is on people's minds. Because I thought Vince put it best. It's Joe Milton and then the defense as a whole that's going to kind of make or break what the Vols are going to do this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, for the Vols fans out there that are looking at this defense are thinking, well, we've returned majority of our secondary besides Trayvon Flowers. Now we have to really focus on the interior. So, you want to build from the base, and the base is normally the defensive interior. But for the Vols this year, they're building from the outside to in. So that's going to be their biggest challenge going into this season.
Yep, Tim Banks will have to earn his money, that's for sure, as he works to build this Vols team into what, or this Vols defense, I should say, and what they need to be. Coming up next, we'll check in with Shane Beamer, hear what he has to say. The South Carolina head coach put a bow on things here at SEC Media Days, day number 4, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. But right now, caller number 3 will win a pair of tickets to see Sad Summerfest at Ascend Amphitheater coming up on July 23rd. I believe that is Sunday. 615-737-1025. That consists of Taking Back Sunday, The Main, Purvis, Mom Jeans, Stand Atlantic, and Motion City soundtrack. Ascend Amphitheater on Sunday, July 23rd. Caller 3, 615-737-1025 here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Touchdown. The Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
They needed somebody that they could count on. Even with DeAndre Hopkins in the receiver room, they're not very deep.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
It alleviates pressure from Traylon Burks, forces defenses to pay attention.
He and Mike Vrabel have a very good relationship.
The receiving group has a chance to actually be pretty good.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We are changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. Right now, check this out. Use my promo code CHASE. It's that simple. My name, CHASE. When you put in the promo code, you'll score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 simply by using my name, Chase. Download that app and get going. They have futures out there right now for pro football, for college football. They even have the line for Titans versus Saints. Titans a 3-point dog on the road. Download the Superbook Sports app. Enter the promo code CHASE to get that $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Gear up for back to school at Electronic Express. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699 or a Maytag front-load laundry pair just $699 each. Guaranteed lowest prices in every department at Electronic Express, including computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti portable ice maker for only $89 or an Acer gaming monitor just $129. Plus, get up to 60 months special financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Calling all Nashville Sounds baseball fans. You know the 312 Pizza Company in Germantown is the best place to be before or after a Sounds game, but this season, it gets even better. Stop by 312 Pizza Company before or after any Nashville Sounds home game with your day of ticket and get a free old-style beer. That's right, you get a free old-style beer from 312 Pizza just for watching Sounds baseball, only redeemable with purchase. See you at 312 Pizza Company all baseball season long. 312 Pizza Company, a proud sponsor of your Nashville Sounds.
Check, check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's gonna fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
It's the latest social networking thingy. We are all over social media. Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame. You can follow me at ChaseOnGame. Also on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville and at the Chase McCabe. See, aren't we cool?
Chase McCabe on 1025 and 1063 The Game. Chase McCabe is on.
I am not that guy you think I was.
1025 and 1063 The Game.
Hey, the Game's summer ticket tour is headed to Bringle's Smoking Oasis, located at 4901 Centennial Boulevard in Nashville tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 6. I'll be there in for Jared. Come eat, drink, hang, and leave with a pair of free Sounds, Preds, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, or concert tickets. You know, you can also sign up for the grand prize, which is a pair of Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at Opry Lane Hotel with access to sound waves. It's awesome. Black Tie Moving delivers the Game summer ticket tour. For more details, just visit thegamenashville.com/tour. Chase McCabe here, SEC Media Days. Rick Neuheisel going to join Caroline Willie and D-Mace at 1 o'clock today from CBS, and I think he coached D-Mace with Baltimore. Is it 1 or 2 years? 1? Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator there when Derek was or quarterback's coach when Derek was a member of the Baltimore Ravens. So he will join them at 1 o'clock. Right now, let's check in and hear a little bit of what Shane Beamer, South Carolina head football coach, has to say.
7-8. He was with the Tennessee Titans at the time. Met him in a Senior Bowl practice, and we've just always kept in touch. Wherever he was coaching, I would always just try and go visit just to pick his brain and watch practice. So I went to Miami when he was in Miami. I went to Chicago when he was in Chicago. I went to Nashville when he was here with the Titans. So I knew what kind of person he was and how smart he was on the offensive side of the ball. And then the other thing that attracted me to him was he's not a guy that's been in the NFL his entire career and is set on this is how we have to do things because it's how we do it in the NFL. He spent 2 years in college, and also a few months on Penn State staff, where he saw, quote unquote, the college type offenses and how the college game is different, just hash marks and the field and whatnot. So being able to attack it, so that being able to marry the NFL background with the college background really attracted me to him, not to mention the kind of person he is. And he's been better than I even imagined him being as a coach, as a recruiter, as a person. He's got an awesome family, he and his wife Beth, and couldn't be more excited about them being in Columbia. And then same thing with Trey Knox as well. I remember coaching against Trey last season when we played Arkansas saw in week 2 and what a problem he presented defenses because of his size and athleticism. And Dow was his position coach there at Arkansas and did a great job with him, helping develop him as a tight end. And excited about the leadership, the talent, and the energy level that Trey has already brought to our football team.
Coach, we'll go back over here to our right and in the front row again.
Coach, Brady Penn, Volunteer Country. So like you said, last year you got a 63-point performance against a team that was 10-1, and then you followed that up by beating your in-state rival Clemson. Great final stretch to the season. Have you guys kind of used that as a springboard to what you want to do this fall?
Yeah, those were 2 monumental wins for us. There's no question about it. I was telling somebody earlier, proud of the fact that coming off that win in Columbia against Tennessee, to not just go on the road the next week and win, but to be down 14-0 on the road to Clemson and come back and win that game. That's what I'm so proud of, because human nature would have been to say, well, it's just not our day. We had a great game last week in Columbia, and we're down 14-0. But man, we got that win. We're good. No, our guys battled back. So to me, the mental toughness and the fortitude that our guys showed that day was awesome, and it absolutely has springboarded us in a lot of ways. The momentum that we took from the month of November into recruiting and into 2023 within our facility, but then outside the facility from a recruiting standpoint and just national narrative, without a doubt. But also we understand we got a lot of work to do too. We had those 2 great wins, but we're also, that's the same team that didn't score an offensive touchdown the week before against Florida as well. So we've got to be more consistent, starting with me, but certainly there's a lot that you can take from those 2 games that'll help us going forward.
Coach, we'll go in the section in front of me along the front aisle, about midway back.
Coach Beamer, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you about DeCarrion Joyner. I know your running game is going to be a big part of the development of this football team. You got 4 scholarship running backs. He's turned from a quarterback to a wide receiver, made plays for you, and now is going to get a look at running back. Kind of like one of the great Gamecocks, Deebo Samuel, but talk about his unselfishness to move and his development as a player and how big a part of the offense he could potentially be this year.
Yeah, he's going to be a huge part of it. First of all, DeCarrion was here with me last year, and I brought him because he embodies everything being a Gamecock is about, and easily could have been here again today as well. He's a fantastic leader and representative of our program. He's literally done everything on our team in his career. Going back, you watch him because we used him some last year in some Wildcat quarterback situations. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns against Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. But they were plays where he showed a skill set, making somebody miss in space, lowering his shoulder and trying to get north-south downhill on somebody. So he showed that he has ability as a running back. So honestly, the conversation was before spring practice. In spring practice, we only had 2 scholarship running backs on our entire team going into spring practice. So I just met with DeCarrion just to talk about, would you be open to just us utilizing you at the running back position a little bit this spring? Not wholesale change, but let's just dabble in it and be an opportunity, another way for you to get on the field and help your career after college as well, potentially. And I think maybe he was a little reluctant, but decided to do it, and couldn't be more excited that he did. And I think he'll tell you the same thing. He showed great natural ability as a running back. He's going to help us there along in other areas on our team. He and I were actually at a charity event in Charleston the other night, raise money. All the coaches in the state of South Carolina come together to raise money for charity. And DeCarrion was there with me, and they had a Q&A with the players where he came up on stage, and the MC introduced him as a receiver. And he immediately got the microphone and told the whole room, I'm a running back. So he's bought into it and has embodied it, and can't wait to watch him carry the football for us this year, along with our other running backs.
Coach, we're going to go in the center aisle.
Shane Beamer, head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. And how ironic that, we go to that, and he's talking about Dow Loggins. Of course, Titans fans remember Dow Loggins, former offensive coordinator, now the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for South Carolina. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. That is going to do it for us today, but don't go anywhere. Caroline Willie and D-Mace coming up next. Rick Neuheisel going to join them at 1 o'clock here at SEC Media Days. More coming. 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
There's nobody on the planet who's as picky when it comes to diamonds as Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
I'm very, very selective.